Coach Eric Ramsay was our angry.
Eric, what do you attribute the 3 points drop to?
We didn't start the game well. It was the same story as I would have summed up last week, with where we genuinely look almost like two different teams, first half and second half. And albeit I think in general some of the elements of the performance that we were really looking for in terms of disrupting them as a possession-based team, making sure that they didn't get into their rhythm, I think we certainly achieved that. But in the first half we weren't good enough on the ball, weren't clean enough on the ball, didn't use the ball well enough when we won it. And then in the second half, I must say, we had a really good go. And I think if you were to review the game objectively, as we will all do, and of course it's not the most important thing, the second half reflects a team that was very dominant, had all the chances to win the game that it really needs, and unfortunately we weren't able to do so. So again, I'm sure when I wake up tomorrow and we watch it back and we get some objectivity around it, you'll see it's a nice step in the right direction, because we're dominating teams at home, and we're looking like a team that's a real threat. We're looking like we got good depth, but we haven't got any points today, so it's disappointing.
Second straight week that the team looks great coming out in the second half. What changes are you making at halftime that are causing the second halves to be better?
I don't think there's anything concrete that I'd speak about here, but the team looks freer. It's sometimes easier, I think, to play a goal down than it is to play level when everything's a touch more cagey. We're a team that plays really well with good energy, and we need to make sure that we find the instances in our play to make sure that we're giving the crowd the energy and we're giving ourselves some energy. And in the first half, where we're not playing forward as we should do, we're not breaking the line well enough, and we're wasteful with the ball around the top of the box, we're costing ourselves the ability to really take the energy of the performance up a notch. And in the second half, you almost can't fail for that to be the case. And in some senses, I'd much rather be... probably rephrase it, actually, I'd much rather be stood here with 3 points, but in some senses I'd rather come off the back of a performance where we dominate, we look like the team that we want to be. I'm glad that we saw that in the second half for a long period. It wasn't just in a flash, so there is a nice step there somewhere, and we've got to make sure that the fact that we haven't picked up 3 points here doesn't rock us too much, and we do look at it as objectively as we can, and we do use it as a platform to build on, because as you've seen, there's some really good stuff there.
What did you think of those last chances, Fraga, Jordan? It looked like you almost had that late equalizer like you did a week ago.
Yeah, they were good quality chances. They came as a consequence of us really penning the opposition in and giving them no space to breathe. And I think we created more than enough to win the game very comfortably today. But we've number one got to be very disappointed with the goals we concede, because they're goals that they score out of very little possession and very little threat. So that's certainly our doing now, and we had control of the game. The performance was good enough to win the game, and we haven't won the game. So that's ultimately very disappointing.
Between the first half chance from Will Trapp and the late header from Jordan, are you starting to wish this league had goal line technology to check those things?
Yeah, if they were over the line, it would have been great if we could have had something automatic to tell us that. I'm not actually sure. I haven't seen the sort of necessary angle, but you trust that the officials have and that they've done their job. And yeah, I sort of reserve comment on that because I haven't seen it as properly as I should do, really.
How would you assess Hugo's debut?
I think he did really, really well. I was really hoping that at the end of the game we'd be able to look at the squad as a squad with more depth as a consequence of Hugo playing his first game and playing well, and I think he did. I think he, there were some minor moments, of course, as probably with everyone's performance, where you'd be looking at and thinking that perhaps he makes a different decision or uses the ball in a different way. But I think largely for an MLS debut, it was really impressive, and I'm pleased to be able to work with him.
In general, last week you spoke about how the team did what you wanted them to do defensively against Real Salt Lake. Was that true again today against Houston?
Yeah, as I said prior to the game, these guys are a team that are used to having a lot of the ball. They're very purposeful with how they use the ball. I don't think you saw that today. I think we were able to disrupt what their intentions were. I don't think, and I'm sure the numbers will suggest, that they posed in general play too big a threat. We've got to make sure that in the moments that we cost ourselves set plays and counter-attacks, that we're far better in those moments, because if you're going to be a team that's dominant at home, that has 60% of the ball, attacks a lot around the top of the opposition's box, then ultimately they're the ways in which the opposition are going to hurt you. So we've got to make sure that we're much more solid in those moments.
How do you assess those set pieces, in particular corner kicks tonight?
Yeah, I think it's obviously been a little bit of an Achilles heel in 2 of the last 3 games, which is it's almost the inevitability when you have a performance that is sort of that one-sided. You're going to concede set plays or counter-attacks typically, and unfortunately we've conceded one of each today, so we need to make sure that we get better in both those phases.
You subbed in Caden Clark at fullback tonight. What did you see in training that made you trust him on the back line, and what did you see in the game today from him?
Yeah, I think it was more the stage of the game, in that it was us largely very dominant. The opposition camped on the back of on the top of their 18-yard box, so it wasn't going to be a game that Caden was having to play as a sort of orthodox fullback and defend for 50% of the time and attack for 50% of the time. He was going to attack, and he was going to be on the last line, and he was going to be combining on that side with Jordan at that point. So it was more to do with the stage of the game than anything too positional, I suppose.
What brought on the change for Alejandro and Hassani, and what did Hassani give you in the second half?
Yeah, in some senses it was a bit of a roll of the dice to try and make us a touch more progressive, a bit cleaner in the middle. No real reflection or anything damning on Alejandro. And sort of the reverse of last week, I suppose. Alejandro comes on last week, the game swings a little bit, he's able to play forward a little bit more, and I think it was the same today with Hassani. So nothing that I'll dwell on too much in his case, and it's obviously his first start for a little while, so you certainly make some allowances there. So good player, really good guy to work with, so not something that we dwell on too much.